Our next conversation, as I mentioned at the top, is something that we've just added to the program, and it's happening literally right now. We have the President of Israel, Isaac Herzog, joining us from Israel this morning, his afternoon, of course, the country facing biggest challenges yet following the attacks, the deadly attacks on Jews since the Holocaust, the deadliest attack, I should say, since the Holocaust on October 7th. This has created a war, of course, that has gripped the world, a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and today now marks the 54th day of the war. And President Herzog, we want to thank you so very, very much for joining us. And I'm just going to get right to,
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We are in the middle of this temporary pause, this truce of sorts, and maybe you can just bring us right up to date as of right now, where that stands and whether it's going to be extended.
So right now, in these very moments, we're hoping and praying to see the release of another group of about 10 to 12 hostages, some of them very young adolescents, some very old people. We I've heard terrible stories from hostages who came back home, and they're still in huge trauma and post-trauma. It's a very, very delicate situation. Parallel to that, there is an international effort, and there is an effort led by President Biden and his administration, together with the Israeli government, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, the Qatari Emir and his Prime Minister, and CIA and all the other agencies, Mossad, etc., to try and find a venue as to the next few days. I don't know the exact outcome of this, but we are demanding. We want to see the hostages back as soon as possible. There are still about 190 hostages. I want to tell the story of one hostage, which is unknown to people. This is Aisha El-Ziyadna, a young Arab Bedouin woman, an Israeli, was hijacked and kidnapped on that 7th of October. She's 18 years old. She was with her parents. That morning, they went to work in Kibbutz Cholit, a beautiful kibbutz, a beautiful community on the border with Gaza. They've been working there for years, and they became part of the family. She and her brothers were kidnapped, they're abducted, they're in Gaza. The Hamas thinks they're second grade or something. I mean, because they're Muslims, so Muslims living in Israel, God forbid. And we care about her, we care about all the other hostages. And we demand, we pray, we work. I'm raising this story because I want to explain the story of Israel. We're an equal society where Jews and Arabs live together in peace and harmony, despite many, many obstacles that are natural. And we care for our brothers and sisters no matter what their background is. And we demand their release. And we want to see as many as the hostages back home, because what happened to them is a crime, a major war crime. And I want to thank the President of the United States and the administration for working so diligently and trying to assist in getting the hostages out.
How long, though, do you think that this pause can go on? What do you really think genuinely the opportunity is to bring hostages back? And the other thing that I think is on a lot of people's minds is the longer this goes on, the view is, meaning the truce. And I'm curious how you balance this. The idea that there's going to be more and more public pressure on Israel not to return to combat. How do you think about that?
We have to understand, in order to change the equation in the Middle East and change the vision and the horizon in the Middle East towards a vision of peace, we have to uproot this machine of terror, this jihadist culture. So the grand picture is a coalition of evil emanating from Tehran, with jihadism going all over the region, from Lebanon through Hezbollah, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, the situation in Iraq and its proxies there. In Syria, of course, And they're fighting the grand vision of peace in the region with the Abraham Accords states, with Egypt, with Jordan and other countries, which Israel was part of being included more and more in the region. We were on the verge of another breakthrough with Saudi Arabia. President Biden correctly said over Thanksgiving that the trajectory was very clear, and the vision that he laid down 2 months ago in the G20 was connectivity between Israel all the way to India. And an evil force has tried to undermine this, of course, with the most atrocious terror attack that you've seen since World War II. Now the question is, how do you change that? And for this, you need to fight. We got to get the mob out of the city. We have to fight them, and it's a complicated, difficult...
But Mr. President, let me ask it then this way.
There will be no other choice but to do it.
Well, that's the question about the other choice. And there's as you know, across the world, a lot of people looking at this saying that there's a humanitarian crisis that has now been created by Israel as a result of this. 13,000 people.
So, Andrew, so first let's get the facts on the ground. So many nations, and everybody understands that Israel has the full right to protect and defend itself. These communities, these peace-loving communities lived on the border. They were the biggest peace activists in Israel, and they advocated peace with the Palestinians and with Gaza constantly, and they were the first ones to be butchered and slaughtered. Now, in order to change the equation, in order to defend ourselves, we have to go into people's homes and find the launchers, the missiles, and all the ammunition, which is so robust, and this entire terror machine underneath. We alert, according to humanitarian international law. We send millions of leaflets. We call people. We encourage them through humanitarian pauses to go from north to south. That's what we're trying to do. We don't shy away from the situation in Gaza, and therefore we are doing whatever we can to increase and upgrade the humanitarian aid to Gaza today. I just came in from the Nitzana crossing, a huge crossing between Israel, Egypt, and Gaza, where I've seen hundreds of trucks with humanitarian aid go through and being screened by Israel and then go into Gaza through a Rafah crossing. This is a major effort with the United Nations, with agencies, with world players, but that is the equation, meaning we are doing whatever we can to have humanitarian aid and safety for the people of Gaza, but we have to do the job and get Hamas out of there.
Let me ask you a separate question about this truce. What do you think Hamas is doing during this period? Do you have a view that they are regrouping? One of the things that is not allowed to happen during this period is that you can't be running drones to track what's happening the way you used to. What do you think is happening?
So that's a smart question of somebody who's well read, and I thank you for that. It is true. We assume that they are trying to collect more strength and regroup and do other things. But, you know, Israel has many tools and many capabilities. It's true that we limited, according to the agreement, some of our drone activity, but we are very much aware of this very delicate and fragile situation, and we know and assume that Hamas will seek to fight further, but we have a huge army down there, and we're well trained, and we have excellent soldiers, Israeli citizens who've left their homes by the hundreds of thousands. They could be your age or much older than you. They put on their war uniform in order to defend and protect the people of Israel. And therefore, because we have the obligation to defend and protect the people of Israel, we will do whatever is necessary. We're also doing it on behalf of the free world, because if it weren't for us, Europe would be next. Because these jihadists are out there to get all of us out and wipe us off the map. And that is the real battle the world is facing.
Let me ask you a question that has actually come up even here this morning in the hallways. Somebody mentioned this to me, and I wanted to ask you about it directly, which is, we understand that the leadership of Hamas is in Qatar. Why are you not trying to destroy the leadership of Hamas in Qatar? Is it that they are helping you with the negotiations to get the hostages released? Is that something you will do in the future? Is that something you can work with the government of Qatar to do?
So we made clear, you know, the Hamas is built from in two heads. One is the political leadership, which is in Qatar, living very well off in villas and flying private jets and having a great life. And the military wing, the military leadership headed by Yahya Sinwar, who's a psychopath who lives down there in the city underneath. There's a huge city of terror underneath with billions of dollars being invested in there. And rather than investing in the good, doing good to the people of Gaza, they put it all underground, and he's there. Now, even if we get rid of them, right now he's running the war. And so we said it, we made it clear, and we know how to take a breath and do what we have to do in the right time, in the right place. So we made it clear that nobody is exempt from our long arm.
Let me ask you a different question. We're going to have the Vice President here from the Biden administration in just a little bit. They have clearly been trying to message you publicly, privately, that you need to be more careful about how you take down Hamas and how you think about the civilians around you. If and when combat resumes, are you changing your approach at all because of it?
So I would say that we have a very intimate and close dialogue with the United States of America, with the administration, with both sides of the aisle. On the 19th of July, I think it looks like a different era then. I attended a joint session of Congress celebrating 75 years of Israel's independence, and I enjoyed true support from both sides of the aisle. We have an open and frank dialogue with all echelons of the administration. We go into detail about all these questions. We respond, we respect, we disseminate, we listen. We also express our opinion. So I think all in all, we know what we need to do and how to do it.
But there's no change. Would there be any change?
You have to understand my role is as opposed to American president. I don't have an executive power with me. I'm the head of state. It's the European system of government. I'm the head of state, but the executive is in the arms of the prime minister and his cabinet, the war cabinet, and they're dealing with this together with the army. But all I can say is that on the one hand we listen, and I said we listen and we cooperate and we have an open and frank dialogue, and on the other hand we have to do the job. And that's this war was forced upon us. We didn't want to go to war. We're a peace-loving nation. That's the tragedy of it all. We were in a trajectory of peace in the Middle East. We opened up Gaza to tens of thousands of employees, Gazan people who broke bread and came back home. Now we know that many of them gathered information against the people who employed them and worked with them and supported them. It's mind-boggling. And when you speak about the future, one has to deal with the psychology of the current situation. And the psychology is that Israel has gone through a horrific trauma on the one hand, and we have to make sure that our people are safe and sound on the other hand.
Mr. President, you just met with Elon Musk, somebody we're going to be meeting with this afternoon. What were your impressions of him, and why did you take that meeting?
I appreciated the fact that Elon Musk came to Israel to see for himself. And he came and went to see Kibbutz Kfar Aza, which was totally destroyed, and so many members of that kibbutz were butchered, killed, chopped, raped, and abducted, and to see the tragedy that has fallen on our people for himself. Then I met with Elon Musk, because he is clearly a very influential and important leader in various fields of life, especially dealing also with the future. I raised immediately our fear and our criticism about the issue of anti-Semitism, how it's approached, especially the issue of the use of hate and anti-Semitism in various platforms, including his. It was a very open and frank discussion. Then I went with him to another room in the president's residence, and we sat for an hour with families of hostages. It was a very painful and emotional meeting. I thought it's very important that Elon Musk sees for himself. After all, so many people follow, know, and learn. And I do hope sincerely that he will take a leading role in fighting anti-Semitism.
Do you think he will?
As well as expressing a clear voice that will pressurize whoever it is to bring back the hostages.
Did you feel it was a successful meeting in that regard? Meaning, do you think that he will?
We had an open and frank conversation which I found interesting and I think was mutually beneficial to both of us, and I sincerely hope that we will see some of it in the near future, and let's hear what he has to say in your conference as well. But I respected the fact that he came to Israel. For us, it was viewed as a visit of solidarity.
Final question for it, and it's a political one. Do you view the internal turmoil that was inside of Israel before October 7th as emboldening Israel's enemies or weakening the cohesion of the military?
So let's all remember, people tend to forget. We are a very, very vibrant democracy, and we are indeed very proud of it. And the last year we've gone through was a very heated democratic debate in Israel, which was at times worried me tremendously, and I made my position very clear. I thought it was skidding into dangerous arenas, and I thought the unity of the people of Israel is prime above all. Actually, in February, I actually mentioned the fact that our enemies are celebrating this divisiveness within us. But at the end of it all, I'm also extremely proud of Israeli democracy. Our enemies, the Hamas, they're the ones who fight LGBTQ. They're the ones who undermine any liberal voice. When I see sometimes voices supporting Hamas in the United States, I'm mind-boggled. How could you? They're against any basic value that you guys, those who support them, hold. And that is why I'm saying, amidst this turmoil, it was also an expression of strength, because it was a debate on basic values of Israeli democracy, and that's important. A society can have a debate like that. Now, what happened is that following the 7th of October, the horrific attack, the nation is extremely united. We rose up as a lion. We show incredible solidarity to each other. We care for our Jewish brothers and sisters all over the world who are under a barrage of anti-Semitism. And most importantly, we are showing our might and strength so that we can sustain the great vision of Israel as a nation doing good in the region and the world. I hope tomorrow morning to meet with Secretary of State Tony Blinken, speak to him again about the vision that we should all have of peace in the Middle East. But to do that, we should not be naive. We should first and foremost finish the job and get rid of these enemies who all what they want to do in life is torture all of us, kill all of us, get rid of all of us, and endanger the world at large.
President Herzog, it is a longer conversation. I hope we get to continue to have it with you. I want to thank you for joining us during this very, very important moment, and we want to wish you the best. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.